I'm a little behind today. When did you first realize the people around you influenced you? Well, that had to be when the first time I let somebody shoot me up. I was always afraid of needles. Like I hated getting shots. Like anything to do with a needle, I didn't want nothing to do with. And I was obviously on the run. All I hung around with was a bunch of dope heads because I stayed high. I felt like I had nothing to look forward to, so what was the point? But I was with them one day, and I didn't have a whole bunch of drugs like I usually do. I was running low, and they was telling me, I could hit that vein, and you'd only have to do a quarter of what you usually do. You wouldn't even have to do half as much as you do if you shoot it up. And you got that big ass vein right there. I'd love to hit that. I could hit that so easy for you. And of course, fuck it, shoot me up. And after I got shot up, I never did my drugs any other way. Everything was shooting up after that. So that was when I realized the people I ran with had more of an influence on me. What was the biggest lie you told yourself while living that life? That I could quit whenever I wanted. I always told myself I can quit if I wasn't on the run. Oh, I could quit if I didn't have nothing but prison to look forward to. Why quit? All I'm looking forward to is prison. So it was like thinking mentally, thought that I could truly quit on my own. But if you're as far gone as an addict as I was at the time, you ain't gonna be able to just quit on your own. The withdrawals alone are hard enough the way it is. I would have never been able to make it through if I didn't get put in prison. Prison is the only reason I got off of drugs. If it wasn't for prison, I would have never got off drugs. I probably would end up be dead right now because I was on my way to get heroin for the first time in my life the day I got picked up. So I used to tell myself I could quit anytime. That's a complete lie. You can't just quit. I mean, you can quit if you got a program in place or something and you're weaning down, then maybe you can quit. But I had to quit cold turkey. Got thrown in jail and I had to tough it out in there. And in there you can sleep all day. So that's pretty much what I did. I slept all day in there and I ate sweets. Something about sweets when I was withdrawing. I was eating the shit out of sweets. I'm talking boxes and boxes of oatmeal cookies and Twinkies and ding dongs and shit like that. I was eating them like I never ate them before. Like, I don't know if that had something to do with me withdrawing and I was trying to get some kind of fix off something, but I noticed when I was withdrawing, I went through a lot of sweets. But I used to tell myself all the time, I could quit. If I wasn't on the run, I could quit. No big deal. I knew I could quit. But that's a lie. You can't just quit like that. What was going through your mind when you walked into the courtroom? Everything you could think of. What's he about to do to me? Is he in a bad mood today? Did the person in front of me piss him off? Because that has a lot of effect. I don't care who you are. You go in front of a judge and somebody in front of him puts that judge in a bad mood, you're gonna get the punishment for it. That's just the way it works. I've seen it time and time again. You can go in front of a judge for something petty and you not be the one to piss him off, but the person before you says something stupid to him or gets him mad, and then he's on the rest of the day he's throwing out hard sentences. So I had that running through my mind. Hopefully nobody in front of me pisses him off. And they used to say that if my judge's hair was messed up, he was going to throw the book at you. But if his hair was combed, he's going to cut you some slack. So obviously I was hoping, well, hopefully his hair looks nice today. And in my last video, I talk about that. He actually asked me what I thought about his hair. And I told him, I think it looks great, Your Honor. And everybody in the courtroom started laughing, even the judge. But that right there let me know, he's going to cut me a break. He ain't going to be real hard on me today anyway. But yeah, that was just some of the things running through my mind, and wondering, what's he going to give me, the max? I know there's a maximum sentence and there's a minimum sentence he has to give me, so hopefully he just gives me that minimum. What do you wish someone would have explained about the court system before you went? I wish somebody would have told me, don't take the very first plea. Never take the first plea the deal they offer. Because the first plea deal they offer is just something like, okay, you plead guilty to this major one and we'll drop this minor one. If you wait it out and you go through a couple different pleas, the pleas get better each time. They always come with a better plea for you, if you're even open to pleas. I told them I wasn't open to no pleas. I don't want no pleas. I'm taking this all the way jury trial, and that's what it is. But that was a whole different case. So it depends on the case you're fighting. If it's something minor and you think you can beat it, you might as well take a jury trial. If you ain't facing that much time, why not take a jury trial? What you're doing is you're trying to bluff the courts out and see if they're going to cave before you cave, or do they want to pay for a jury for a petty little misdemeanor crime. You know what I mean? What did you feel when the judge gave you your sentence? Actually, I felt lightheaded. When he hit me, the time I went in front of him, I went in front of my judge a bunch of different times. He kept giving me chance after chance after, like, so many chances it was unbelievable. Like, I forced him to send me to prison. I gave him no other option left. Like, I turned myself in one time, he let me go. After I was on the run for 3 years, I turned myself in and he let me go. And I ran again for a couple more years. But when he caught me that time is when he threw the book at me. He said, "Guess what? Today you go into prison, boy." And that's what he did. And he sentenced me to the maximum sentence. And what I felt was, I physically felt like I was going to pass out, knowing 20 years was what I was sentenced to. That's not no little light chunk of your life there. And I was pissed at myself, Why did I even let myself get into this situation? I wish I would have never took this plea, because if I would have never took this plea, I would have never got this sentence. So there was a lot of things that was going through my head and what I felt. What did 5 years on the run do to your mind? What it did to my mind was made me paranoid and not trust people, because I was on the run for 3 years, and then I was on the run again for another 2 years. So I was on the run for 5 years. I went to jail for 3 days in between them 5 years. And I had so many people try to turn me in because of jealousy, or because they was mad because I was buying all the drugs before they got to them, or because I was friends with the drug dealer and the drug dealer would hook me up before they'd hook them up. So the grimy people I ran with would get jealous and get mad because when they wanted their drugs, they wasn't there because I'd already got them. So they would try to turn me in. I left a house before and the cops showed up. The sheriff surrounded the house. I had them show up while I was in a house, and I hid, and my mom told them, "Nope, I'm not answering. You can't come in and look." And then I had them show up at a house where I was working, and I gave them a fake name. And the cop told me, "I know you gave me a fake name, but there ain't a crime being committed here, so there's nothing I can do. But next time you come to my fucking town, you better have your ID, or I'll take you uptown and have you fingerprinted." So I had a lot of close calls on there. So the 5 years made me paranoid. Like, who do I trust? I had another time he tried to set me up over $1,000 reward they had out for me. Told me he had some gold and some chainsaws for sale, and that's what I did to stay living on the run. I bought shit and resold it. And I would buy gold and silver, I'd buy tools, anything I could turn around and flip and make some money on. That's how I survived out there when I was on the run. I also fixed game systems. I knew how to fix the Xboxes, the PlayStations. So I had to add up and I would repair people's game systems for them. But the dude called me up one day and told me he had so many ounces of gold and had a couple chainsaws. And he kept taking all day to get there. And when he finally showed up, the cops showed up. I'll get into the story another time. But they surrounded the house. I left my door open. They seen me run in. I don't think they actually physically seen me run in, or else they would have came in and got me. But I left the door open and the dude standing in my garage as the cops pulled up. But I'll talk about that in another story. So yeah, being on the run for 5 years, it makes you paranoid. It makes you not know who you can trust and when to let your guard down. What was the hardest part about knowing you could be caught? The hardest part was never knowing when you was going to be caught. That was the hardest part, because it could be any hour. Like I was living pretty much hour by hour. You never knew when the next time was that a cop was going to get called on you, or when you was going to run into one walking down the street, or get pulled over in a car. But I was always safe. Like if a car had any lights out, nope, I'm not getting in it. If it had dark tinted windows, nope, I'm not riding with you. If a license plate light was out, if only one of the license plates light worked and not both of them, nope, I'm not riding with you. That's how I stayed very, very careful and aware of my situations when I was on the run, and that's how I made it 5 years without getting caught. Matter of fact, the 3 years I ran, I turned myself in after 3 years, and then I got sent to jail for 3 days, and then I got back out because the judge gave me a chance at another drug court program, and then I ran again for another 2 years. So pretty much the hardest part about knowing when you would be caught was just living hour by hour. So it was like, you never know when your last time you don't know if it's the last time you're talking to your mom. You don't know if it's the last time you're talking to your sister, your girlfriend. You don't know when the last time you're talking to anybody. You don't know if that's the last time you're going to see them for 20 years. You know what I mean? That was the hardest part. So with me thinking like that, it affected how I made choices, how I moved, how I lived, everything. Like never knowing when you're going to be gone for 20 years, that was the hardest part. Did you ever have a moment you thought, I can't live like this no more? Yep. that's when I finally turned myself in. I got so tired of people threatening to turn me in, people trying to turn me in, but I'd miss the cops by a couple minutes, or I'd get lucky and the cops would just miss me. So yeah, it got to that point. That's when I finally told myself, you know what, I ain't letting nobody get no money off of me. I'm gonna turn myself in. For one, it's gonna look better when I go in front of the judge, and I'm glad I did, because the judge got into it with the prosecutor. Prosecutor told the judge, Your Honor, you're crazy if you let this man go today. He ran once, he's going to run again. The judge said, well, call me crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and release you. So it did count for something, for the fact that I turned myself in after 3 years. He said, where have you been for 3 years? I said, right here in this town. He's like, you never left town, never left state? I said, nope, stayed right here in this town. He was like, well, he ain't went nowhere yet. I don't think he's going to go anywhere now. He turned himself in. And he cut me a break, and I ran 3 days later. What's the closest you ever came to getting caught while on the run? That would have to be when I was inside a house work. Well, there's been a lot of close calls. One time I left a dope dealer's house. He called me when I was going back to my hometown and asked me what my name was, because the cops just surrounded his house looking for me. Then I had another time they showed up. I was over at my mom's visiting, and we were sitting in the living room, and she told me, go hide. And I said, why? She was like, there's a bunch of flashlights out front. And it was the sheriff's office looking for me. And then there was a time I was in a house. The time I was in a house working was the closest, because I gave them a fake name, and they kept telling me that name ain't coming back to nobody. That name ain't coming back to nobody. The information you gave me don't match nothing in the system. But I kept sticking to my story, and they finally told me, look, I'm going to tell you the truth. I think you gave me a fake name, but there ain't a crime being committed, so there ain't nothing I can do about it. I'll talk about that in another video. So the closest I came was the time I gave a fake name. What did you lose during them years you'll never get back? Peace of mind, and it put me behind in life for 5 years. The 5 years I was on the run was 5 years I couldn't plan for a house. I couldn't plan for my job. I couldn't plan nothing long term. So I lost 5 years of life, period. It was better than being in prison. Obviously, people say, oh, you was living like you're on the run. You living on the runs, like, you might as well say you're in prison. Why not just get it over? It's easier to do when you only got a couple years. When you're facing 20 years, it's not easy to go and turn yourself in and say, okay, I'm ready to go face 20 years. You want to try to stretch your freedom as long as you can until they catch you. It's not, I want to walk in and I'm going to get my 20 years done. So that's how my mind was working at the time. Because again, I thought that I was facing 20 years is what my plea agreement was. What did you, if you could go back to the first day you decided to run, what would you tell yourself? Don't do it, just get it done. I would. If I had known that I was going to get in there and get the time cuts I got, if I had known I was going to get the purposeful incarceration, and I would have known I was going to be able to get out sooner than 20 years, I would have just did it. Because I ended up doing like 3 years in prison, and I did a total of like 2 years in jail. I did like a 9-month stay in jail one time, and then I did like another 9 months, and then I did like 5-6 months, and then I got sent to prison for over 3 years. And I would have been in there a lot longer, but like I said, in my last video, I talked about how my public defender was a woman, and she went above and beyond for me. And she approached the bench and told the judge, you know, hey, can we give him this program where if he completes the program, you'll at least consider him for a modification? So that happened. He granted it to me, but he messed up on the paperwork for the DOC, and that's why I got sent to a maximum security prison. And just from one checkbox not being checked, it messed up all my DOC paperwork to where DOC had me down doing my whole 20 years. So that's what made me go to maximum security prison. Then I had to fight to get into the program I was court ordered to do. So it was a big process. But with that being said, guys, I think that's going to be the end of this video. I'll do a couple more here. I've kind of slacked off the last few days. I need to catch up on some of these questions. But if you would, please leave a like, throw some questions in the comment section, and subscribe if you would, please. I appreciate it. Till next one, though. See ya.